And our next set of speakers are all seasoned entrepreneurs. So I'd like to very much welcome to the stage Sumeet Popli. He's the co-founder and chief sustainability officer of Accacia. A very warm welcome. And our next guest is Kunal Prasad, who is the co-founder and COO of Cropin. A very warm welcome. Lovely to see you. And we also have our final speaker, Mr. Kunal Prasad from Cropin. He's the co-founder and the COO of Cropin, Mr. Kunal Prasad.
Kunal's me here. I'm already there. Kunal's
sorry, one moment. Dear me, sorry. So hang on a sec. Who else do we need? We need one more. Rudra, Dalmia. I do apologize. There we go. To join the conversation, I'd now like to welcome on stage Rudra Dalmia, the co-managing partner of Green Frontier Capital. I do apologize. Too much going on at the moment. Too much juggling, but how fantastic to have such an incredible lineup here to talk about the private sector, a very important topic, of course, as well. Now, Sumeet, I was reading that real estate and infrastructure contribute to 44% of global CO2 emissions.
Yes.
Which is shocking. And, you know, it's expected to cost the world's financial sector $24.2 trillion as well, an intense figure there. So, Accacia, let's talk about what's happening over there and how you're tackling climate change and what you're doing to improve in solutions when it comes to carbon footprint.
So at Accacia is an early stage startup right now, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to integrate the entire ecosystem for the real estate sector, bring it together, help the sector estimate its emissions. Like you said, more than 40% of global emissions comes from the real estate sector. Part of it is embodied in the buildings that we use. Part of it is from the operations of the buildings. What we're trying to build is a platform for individual asset owners, individual developers to understand their individual emissions from the assets that they own. And then we are also looking at recommending decarbonization strategies based on their emissions. And that's where we come in. Essentially, there is a lot of science which is available. There's a lot of science which is still getting developed. We're trying to bring everything together in a single platform and enable everyone to be able to estimate what they need to do and take action on their assets.
Moving over to Kunal, I do apologize for that introduction earlier. You're the co-founder and COO of Cropin, and I've been reading some really incredible figures here as well. You've partnered with over 250 organizations globally to digitize 16 million acres of farmland, and you've helped nearly 7 million farmers as well, which is utterly incredible. Tell us a little bit about that innovation journey so far to date and some of the challenges and successes that have come out of it so far.
Yeah, thank you. So basically, like agriculture, we all know right now, it is the biggest industry in the world. It covers almost 540 million farmers which are engaged in that, feeding almost 9 billion people. And we cannot afford to make this industry inefficient. Back in 2010, when we started, this was a clear vision that we have to increase the per acre value and make every single stakeholder efficient and profitable with agriculture. And we have seen the statistics, like now in developing countries, the productivities are 40%, 50% of the developed countries. We are seeing losses at the farm level, like now in the production losses, pests and diseases are like basically they're spoiling the crops by 20 to 30%. From developing countries where the supply chain is actually reducing the losses by 20-30% as well. Like, so if you see 50% of the crop or the potential is getting lost at the production level or the supply chain level altogether, which means there's a huge inefficiency and there's a cost of producing there. And that was a fundamental reason that we thought that, how can we really solve this particular problem? And that is where we innovated that digital and technology and real-time integration to the grassroots level is the only way possible to doing that. With that as a vision, we built technology. It was a learning curve altogether. Innovation, as we kept on learning in the industry, from digital agriculture to innovating, how do you basically bring right technology for the farmers? How can they adopt that? Build partnerships. Then you innovate in terms of challenges in climate change, because 5-6 years back, this was not the biggest problem. There were other problems of digital agriculture, but the challenges now came in terms of climate change, and we started solving that. Then the recent problems is all about like, how do you make it much more like regenerative agriculture, looking at the overall ecosystem and things like that. And that is where the pace of challenges that the agriculture is facing is getting increased, and that means that we have to solve that in that particular manner as well. And that's where digital and technology is coming into play. We are bringing a full stack technology solutions, helping farmers, industries which are either lending, insuring, or doing like farm production, seed production, or even the government and development sector, to help them to engage with the stakeholders better. We partner with large programs like, in fact, the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, which is one of the largest innovative programs globally. Now they are moving the entire stack from more of the rudimentary methods into using machine learning and AI and satellite technologies to do real-time settlements of the claims of the farmers and things around that. So it has been a great journey. The learnings are always there in this particular industry, and I'm sure it will keep coming up, but we are geared up to solve this problem at that scale. Happy to also share that now we have reached to close to 1.5% of the global farmers right now, and our vision is to reach to 10% and make everyone sustainable.
Truly is phenomenal what you're doing at the moment. It really is. And thank you for being with us. Over to Rudra. Let's talk a little bit about the future of green investment and energy transition over in developing nations. Tell us a little bit more about the risks and challenges from an investor perspective.
So we're a venture capital, early stage venture capital investor that's supporting companies across the value chain, across separate industries, starting very early. Identifying innovation is not difficult in India. There's amazing entrepreneurs here, as you can see on stage. We found incredible companies to invest in, but we see massive challenges in the scale-up stage that's coming up ahead. There are no cheaper sources of capital, and if our venture capital money is not supported at the scale-up stage with cheaper bonds or ability to help these companies scale up, just like infrastructure was built. The green revolution is not going to be short. It's going to be long. It needs patience. It needs cheaper sources of capital, which comes typically from governments. And I see the government of India stepping up a lot in the green hydrogen mission, etc. But we are really, really worried about the next 2 years, where we are obviously staring at a difficult times in global economy. And I feel that with the policies that the government of India has come out with, we need to figure out ways to attract better capital in the old school industries to make it a revolution. Industries like steel, where there's so much green steel potential in India, which attracting good quality scrap to India to try and do that. We already make the world's best green cement, because we use fly ash in India already. 85% of India's cement is the greenest cement in the world, and that's fly ash is a waste product of energy plants. There's amazing opportunities to come up with financing companies that will build out and support the EV revolution. And one thing that's very important is the governments need to try and coordinate aggregating demand, where they need to, like for example, if they're placing a fleet of orders for Ahmedabad city, the same tender should be aggregated for other states and try to, because you get the ability to get cheaper, you negotiate better, and also help all the states identify the right way to do things. And Gujarat, being a leader, has been doing this for a long time, but I hope other states learn from them. So policy is very, very important. Ability to attract cheaper sources of capital. And the biggest challenge is, how do we reduce the cost of hedging for the dollar that comes in? Because when you add the cost of hedging, green financing becomes unaffordable. So it's really the biggest problem for us.
Very quickly, what are your thoughts on this breakthrough announcement that was made in COP27 over in Sharm el-Sheikh, establishing a loss and damage fund? Don't you think that's going to change?
I don't think countries cooperate very well. These are very good talk shops. They never come together. Have you heard anything about this since then? Has Pakistan got a dime for I think 40 million people suffering? Nothing.
Well, maybe we could get some commentary from Barry a little later on that. But yeah, interesting you say that. Right, let's move on back over to Accacia. How has technology, do you think, been instrumental in helping businesses calculate risk when it comes to economic, environmental wellness?
So I think, there's a lot of technology out there which is available. You see what Cropin is doing. You see what some of the other startups are doing right now, bringing together the best of everything that's available. And that's really, enabling a platform for everyone to come together, and that's enabled people who've not had access get access to the right sort of knowledge and right sort of resources to develop, to improve, and to implement better strategies. That's where technology comes in, and I also as an integrator platform such as ourselves, we are able to bring together everyone in the entire value chain at a single at a common ground, and offer a solution which wasn't even heard of until a few years ago. So that's where technology really does it. And when you look at the real estate sector, the built environment sector, uh, from manufacturers to developers to the asset owners to even investment funds who are investing, they can all benefit from what we're trying to do and what we're trying to offer as a solution to the sector. So it's not just the sector, it's even beyond the sector and the entire value chain that benefits from technology right now.
And what has the climate been like in terms of getting this type of technology off the ground and innovation as well? How have you found that?
I think technology has developed by leaps and bounds in the last 10 years. I think even be. And what technology has enabled is for larger platforms to create more scalable solutions, to provide more rapidly deployable solutions across the world. I mean, if I'm developing something in India, I can deploy this in the US in a matter of a few clicks. And that is where technology really supports and technology really helps. What we're currently lacking right now in the real estate sector is for manufacturers and producers to come up with a genuine number of what the emissions are for every product that we are developing. If you look at numbers, cement and concrete production has contributed to more than 7% of global emissions historically. And that's a surprising number when you look at it for somebody who doesn't know construction. About 13% of global emissions are coming from the built environment, which is embodied in the buildings that we sit in. And those numbers have to be brought down in the future. And that is where the manufacturers need to take responsibility for what they're producing, how they're producing, and are they being fair, and are they being clear in their environmental product declarations. And that is, once the declarations come in, that is where the reduction and the opportunities for improvement lie. That's where the major shortfall is in our industry right now, that manufacturers are not able to give a fair and a correct estimation of what their emissions are, which I think which is something which we're also trying to build onto our platform. We're inviting manufacturers to declare how much emissions they have, so that can be utilized on our platform by the users of those products in estimating the emissions in the entire life cycle of a project, of a construction, of a building construction or infrastructure construction.
Over to Kunal. Now, as India is fairly new to digitalization, what have been the main challenges in those initial years for you when it comes to digitalization as well and actually rolling it out?
Yeah, I think the initial years, when I talk about 2010, I think the basic problem was that you really wanted to connect at the grassroots level, but the technology and the infrastructure was not there. The mobile phones, the smartphones, which would be the medium for you to connect to the farmers and exchange information, was not there. Telecom networks were not available, which means that we could reach a certain percentage of the mass that you would like to empower. So these were some of the fundamental challenges. Then when we went to the business side, they were also uncertain about whether digital technology, machine learning, and AI, this was new in the industry as well. Agriculture is it is one of the laggards in terms of innovation in that particular manner, but now agriculture has understood that technology, digitization, and these newer innovative solutions can be really adding a lot of value. So I think in the last 10 years when we started, it was at ground zero, but now it is one of the fastest industry in terms of adoption of technology. So I think that is something that the industry has learned. We have seen the impact of technology. So in institutions like banks, insurance, farming institutions or even the government which have adopted technology, have seen a real drastic improvement, in terms of improvement in productivity for the smallholder farmers, reduction in risk because of pest and disease, better supply chain management of reducing the losses that is happening in the supply chain by better making the awareness about what's going to happen. Like, for example, in Nigeria, we processed the entire country and said this time, this much, the area is less in terms of production and the quantity is going to be less, which means there's a food security challenge that is there. So now the governments and policymakers are even much more informed about what's going to happen. So I think the transformation has happened from those challenging times to right now, where I think it's a right environment for innovation. And I'm really glad to share that, I think the pace of innovation that's happening, the number of startups which are coming, combining the strengths together with partnerships, I think we are all geared up to solve this big problem.
Rudra, back over to you. Tell us more a little bit about the financing opportunities and policy incentives for green delivery pathways here in India, and also, some of the opportunities that there is for government to mobilize finance for the private sector as well, and for PPPs.
So on the policy side, I think the government of India is doing a fantastic job, at the state levels as well as at the center, where the government has influence in the state. We have seen the green hydrogen mission is a great example, possibly the most forward-thinking and largest layout of capital that's been done for this. It's very well thought through, so I encourage people to read about it. On the policy side, I think the biggest challenge that we are facing is how do we measure impact? And it's a massive, and you spoke about this. There's even at the primary level, it's very difficult to measure impact. People are talking about the ESG side, and somebody mentioned from the Gujarat Chamber of Commerce that most of the annual reports are talking about 5, 10, 20 pages dedicated to ESG in their annual reports, but it's not, there's no real measurement framework out there. If the government doesn't, if you can't measure it, you can't, change it. And that's one big area that I feel the government is, and I know they're working towards it. It's very, very complex. The world hasn't solved it. But I think India needs to come out with its own standards, not follow the West on this. In areas like agriculture, for example, what Cropin is doing is incredible. Just imagine the carbon impact of sequestration that change in cropping patterns do. Nobody's talking. You have some very, very few people who are trying to evangelize this, like Sadhguru, etc. But nobody's really talking about the power of carbon sequestration using change in agricultural practices. So the right incentives can only be created if the right measurement is happening for the farmers. And digital platforms like theirs are companies like what we want to back from our venture fund. But we really need policy to come through and help clarify how do we measure as investors, because we are raising money from outside India and within India, and our LPs will ask us, where is your impact? How are you measuring it? So we do try and make an effort with all our companies, but it's still not clear how they're going to do it. On the energy financing side, I think there's few and far between. Lots of things have been done, but it's still, the green hydrogen mission is the best sort of example that I've seen so far. I haven't seen any other, whether it's on solar. Yes, the private partnerships have done well, but let's hope the green hydrogen mission succeeds. It's going to be revolutionary.
So is this what the announcement that was made yesterday? Yes. So tell us more about that. 2 days ago, and it's the new green hydrogen mission to make the country a global green energy hub. Is that a very exciting?
One of the biggest exporters of hydrogen power in the world. I think that's the mission in another 15 years.
Our largest foreign exchange cost and the largest polluter is fossil fuels, right? So we need to find a way to combat that. Green hydrogen is essentially how you electrolyze hydrogen using solar or tidal energy. And it requires a massive effort and huge amounts of capital. I think the government has laid out $3 billion.
Yeah.
Close to $2.5–3 billion straight up. And thankfully, they've kept aside money for R&D in that as well, because we've been woefully short of investing in research and development as a country in India, at the corporate level and at the government level. So the fact that they're encouraging that, they understand the problem. India is a difficult country to solve everything, but I think hopefully this is one of the very, very few globally smart initiatives that I've seen.
Yep.
Very exciting. Does anyone else want to sort of add to that?
No, absolutely. We are really excited about these initiatives, because the transport minister, he was talking about his car, he was traveling on a car which was fueled by that. And in the last 6 months, this is what his announcement that has been done, 18,000 crores, up $2.5 billion into that. I think this is one of the first, and we are so proud to hear those news from the government. Very positive.
Very exciting. Right, we just have a couple of minutes, and I'd like all of you to just wrap up some of the key highlights you'd like our audience to go away with, especially when it comes to PPPs and why it's so vital going forward as well. Why is that a key element when it comes to climate change and the initiatives going forward? Just in 1 minute, please.
I think climate change is everyone's responsibility. Tackling climate change is not just a government's responsibility, it is every individual's responsibility. Like some of the speakers said earlier, it's not mine, it's not yours, it's all of us as a collective. We have to tackle climate change. I can make my little effort, my small effort. Everyone has to make that small effort, and that's how we're going to tackle it.
Yeah, so climate change needs investments. Some statistics say it needs around $3 trillion in terms of investment to make it happen. But the solutions are there. We as innovators, we as implementing partners are there to solve the problems. We know how it could be solved. So it's all about how do you bring this partnership of public-private sectors coming together to solve this bigger problem. And also the pace of innovation can increase even when we have larger investments coming into the play. And we have seen private sectors coming, investment bankers coming and doing that. But even the government, if it can come and back that, it'll be a very positive move for the startups and industry altogether.
Final mark.
Very specific. We need to reduce the blended cost of capital for climate entrepreneurs, and that can only happen if the government. And this is where Gift City and hopefully initiatives like the Gift City will help us reduce the blended cost by supplementing our expensive capital. Venture capital is expensive capital. It's people and institutions taking risks with cheaper green bonds that we can attract from outside, from countries like Japan, from Europe, etc., where capital is cheaper. Right now it's expensive because the world is going through a crisis, but where the cost of capital is cheaper. Because of the nature of the rupee relationship with the US dollar, we've always had very high hedging costs. So if I attract capital at 2% or 3% and I have to pay 5% on top of that to manage my US dollar risk, I'm already failing in my initiative to attract cheap capital. So I really hope that the government of India and the government of Gujarat figure out a way to solve this problem. There's amazing initiatives that we've invested in a couple of entrepreneurs in Gujarat. I absolutely love the state, the way they incentivize, and that's one of the best public-private partnership models I've seen in Surat and in Ahmedabad. So, big congratulations to this state.
Very good to hear. We have run out of time, sadly. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, experiences, and knowledge with us here today. It really has truly been fantastic to hear from you. Thank you so much. Let's hear it for our panel there. Thank you.